Good morning. Thank you so much for being patient. I'm very nervous, so I hope you can bear with me. And I just wanted to start and say that my testimony, though there's a lot of bad things, it's about glorifying God and what He did and how He carried me through some really tough times and how He's been magnificent in my life.
Amen.
And something I had heard that I wanted to share with you was that he who is forgiven much loves much because he knows what he's been forgiven of.
Amen.
And that's been kind of my life themes, because I know what I've been forgiven of. There is no question. Anyways, my testimony starts back when I was about 12. And my father was a colonel in the Air Force and was in Vietnam. And he came home from Vietnam, and my parents announced that they were getting a divorce. And in the early 70s, that just wasn't something, especially in a social circle, that happened. And then not only were they getting a divorce, but that he was leaving my mother for another man. And I did not understand what that meant because I was only 12 years old, and they had to explain it to me. And something inside me that day broke. I mean, really, really broke. And so we were supposed to keep it a secret because we weren't supposed to talk about it. And so I was able to keep the secret for about 2 years. And then when I was 14, it just became too much for me. And a friend of mine knew what was going on, and she had offered me some drugs. And so I took them and felt better. And I thought, hey, I'm going to do this all the time. And so I started taking drugs, and then I started drinking alcohol, and then I started looking for love in all the wrong places. And I got pregnant when I was 14. My mother left us alone because she was trying to deal with it on her own of what happened. So there's 4 of us, and my oldest sister kind of took on the role of my mother and raised me and my brother. And so we were very much alone, trying to deal with it. So we were all trying to deal with the issue in our own ways. But when I got pregnant, it was too much for my mother. And she said that she sent me away to a foster home. And the foster family wanted to adopt my baby. And I told them no because I want to keep my baby. And so one night my foster parents announced to me, they were so happy, that my parents signed over their legal rights for them to adopt me so that they would have control of the baby and they could adopt the baby. So that next day I went to school and I tried to commit suicide because I just couldn't do it anymore. And they said I died like for 2 minutes. And so when I got out of the hospital, the foster family said I was just too much for them, so she sent me home. And my mother said, well, you have to go to boarding school. So she took me to a place where I was supposed to look and see if there was something I wanted to do. And so while I was in there, and they took me to the bedroom, and I said, I turned around to tell my mom, this isn't it, let's go. And she was gone. And there were 2 guys standing there and said, you're not going anywhere. And I said, what? And so I started freaking out. They grabbed a hold of me, they put me in a straitjacket, filled me up with Thorazine, and threw me in seclusion. And I was in that place for about 1.5 years. And I just learned how to say what they wanted to say until I got out. And when I got out, I tried to, I just focused on my music. And I was going to be a rock star, so I was just going to focus on that. And I was in a band, and I just focused on that. And so then when I was 18, my drug dealer had asked me to marry him. And I did not believe in love. I didn't think there was a really thing called love. And so I figured, well, one man's as good as another, and he's got a job, he'll work, so okay, why not? So we got married. And the day after we got married, he became a completely different person. He was cruel, he was mean, he was abusive. The first week we were married, he broke my wrist. I tried many times to leave, but I couldn't, because he would always hunt me down. He would hunt my friends down. So I had to keep going back. And then when I was about 28, in one of the times when I had decided to leave, I was trying to gather our stuff together, and when my daughter was born, and she was really little, she was like about 2, and I had went into the bedroom and I came back out because I didn't notice it, and my daughter's sitting there eating pot off the table. And at that moment, I just said, I need to make my life better. I want my kids to have something better than this, than us dealing drugs and doing drugs. And so at that moment, I got on my knees and I knew that salvation was my only answer. And so I got saved. In 1988, I had my daughter and I was pregnant with my son. And my husband had an affair. And when I was 7 months pregnant, he decided I needed to leave the house and so that him and his girlfriend could move in. And when I said no, he turned off all the utilities. So I couldn't call anybody because he turned off the phone, and I couldn't. So I had to chop firewood and keep the fire going all night long, because this was like in January and we would have froze to death. So when that didn't work, he came back and he was holding my daughter in his arms, and he went and got a shotgun and he put it in my face and he told me, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill you right now. So I ran out the door and I ran to the police station. And at that time, police did not get involved in domestic violence, so they weren't going to do anything. And there just happened to be, again, God was there when you don't even know. There just happened to be a guy sitting in the police station that 2 weeks before that, his sister's husband had killed her. And so he said, if you don't go with her, I am. And I have a shotgun in the back of my truck. So the police are like, no, we'll go. So they ended up going over and they held my husband at gunpoint while he gave me my daughter and I got all my stuff. And then my mom flew us in secret at night to my sister's to hide us from him. And so I was there for a couple of months, and by this time I was probably about 7 or 8 months pregnant. And the Lord gave me a dream one night. And in the dream, he told me, I want you to go home. And I didn't understand it, and I was really mad. And I said, why would you send me back to that? I don't understand. But I did it anyways, because I loved the Lord and I wanted to be obedient. And I knew that even if it was bad, he had his reasons. And I believe to this day that it was because he wanted to give my ex-husband every opportunity to come and know him. So when I came back, he apologized. He said he was going to get sober and everything. And we were living in Dumfries, Virginia. And he asked me, he said he wanted to move to California because we could live with my mother-in-law, and he was a concrete layer, and in that way he could work all year long and not have the 6 months on, 6 months off. So we left and went to California. And it went good for a little while, but then he started drinking, and he started doing cocaine, and he started doing drugs, and he started, But in the meantime, I was looking for a church to go to. And I just happened to come upon this church that I went inside and talked to the pastor. And so he agreed to counsel my husband and I. And so he started counseling us. And he did a psychological evaluation on both of us during the counseling. And then he called me and he said, you need to come and talk to me. I'm not normally allowed to give you the results of these exams, but in this case I really need to talk to you. So I came in there and he said, look, it came back that your husband's psychotic, and he's the type of person that's going to kill you, the children, and your family. So if you ever feel like you are in danger, I don't care what time of night or day it is, you call us and we'll come and get you. So I said, okay. So about 2 weeks later, he came home and he was drunk, and he grabbed me by the hair and dragged me down the hallway into the bathroom. And there just used to be a look in his eyes that I knew, and I knew that I was going to get beat. But this was a different look, and I knew that he was going to kill me. And so I said that night, Lord, please forgive me, but I'm going to murder him tonight because I'm not going to allow him to kill me and my children. And so I had said in my heart that night that I was going to kill him. And the only thing that saved him was because the phone rang. And so he came out of the bathroom to answer the phone, and I ran in the living room, and I just started telling him whatever he wanted to hear, and he finally passed out, and I waited until he went to work the next morning, and I called the pastor and I said, please come get me my kids. So he came over and got me, and they put me in this hotel room overnight where they were trying to get me on social services and get me an apartment and stuff. And that night I was in the hotel room, and my kids were asleep, and I just happened to look over, and there was this figure that was in the bathroom area, and I saw these red eyes, and then all of a sudden I saw him step out into the light, and it was this huge demon. I mean, and it was like one moment he was across the room, and the next minute he was just on top of me with his talons in my throat. And he was saying, I'm going to rip out your vocal cords because you are never going to sing for God again. And in my mind, I was praying, and I said, well, you can rip out my vocal cords, but you can't have my soul. And so right then, I heard the Lord say really loudly, turn the TV on. And so I had the remote, and I turned the TV on. It just so happened, right at that moment, there was somebody on a Christian station saying, somebody right now is being attacked by a demon, and in the name of Jesus, and they started praying. And the demon let go, and he left. And I didn't know until later. I had called my friends from the church, and I also had started a 12-step program. And they came over and got me at the hotel, and I didn't know it, but physically I had talon marks on my throat, and I didn't know until they showed me in the mirror. So they prayed for me. They said, everything's going to be okay. We have to take you back to the hotel because we don't have anywhere for you to go right now. And I was so scared. And so I went back, and I was like just praying, Lord, please, And I saw spiritually the hotel room door opened, and this white horse came in with this man dressed all in white, and he came in and got off the horse, and then I could see all these soldiers that were shiny that kept coming in the room and coming in the room and coming in the room, and I said, Lord, there's too many of them. They can't keep coming in here. There's no more room. And he said, no, come with me. And so he took me to the door, and I looked down the hallway, and all the way down the hallway and around the corner, you could see that there were these soldiers. And he said, I just want you to know that's how many people are praying for you tonight. And I will never forget that. And he held my hand all night long until the next morning, and I got up. Then they helped me get a house and everything like that. Right before my mom died, she came to visit me. And one of my 12-step things was that you had to, talk about what you did to them and apologize and tell them what they did to you and apologize. And we were kind of doing that. And my mom said to me, I just want to tell you that I had purchased a burial plot for you a couple of years ago because I was so sure that you were going to die. And she said, but I just wanted to tell you that if I didn't know there was a Jesus Christ watching in your life, there's no doubt in my mind now that there's a Jesus Christ. And she said, and I also want to tell you, I sold that burial plot. And that was pretty much one of the last conversations that my mother and I had. So I was really happy that we were able to have that conversation. Later on, I got involved with somebody, and I was a very young Christian when I got separated from my husband. I wanted to do the right thing, but I really didn't know what that was. I had no idea. And so I ended up getting in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in. And I was talking to the pastor, and I said, I need you to help me because I don't know, I want to have a Christian relationship. I want to have a right relationship, but I don't know how to do it. All my life, I've used my body to get what I want. I've, manipulated men to do what I want them to do, but I want to change and do it the right way. So I took a vow of celibacy. And I decided that I was going to remain celibate until God brought me the person He had for me. I I didn't care how long it was or how long I was going to have to wait. So during that time, the Lord had asked me to make a list of what I wanted in a man. So I made the list, and then he said, no, I want you to be more specific, because when the guy comes, you'll know. So I made the list, and then I had shoved it in my Bible. There were several times over the years I tried to find it, and I could not find it anywhere. And that's going to be a little significant later in the story. So I was so desperate. I knew I was so broken, because I said, for me to choose a man like that and to allow him to treat me for 10 years the way he did, I need to fix me. I'm broken. There's something inside me that's really seriously broken. And so I was going to a 12-step program, and I was getting counseling. And I remember this day very clearly. I was driving back from my counseling session, and I heard the Lord tell me, do you want to be whole? And I said, well, yeah, I want to be whole. And then he said, do you want to be whole? And I said, yes, I want to be whole. Why do you keep asking me that? And he's like, do you want to be whole? And then I realized what he was asking me. And I said, no, because it's very scary to have to change. It's like ripping off a protection that you've used to keep yourself safe and staying naked and bare, and that's what I was afraid of. And so he said, okay, this is where we'll start. And he gave me a picture of a shattered mirror, and then all of a sudden I saw the mirror just go, and it was together, and I knew that God had begun my healing, and I was very encouraged, because I was very, very mentally ill. So during the period of time, I had gotten an order of protection. My ex-husband, he wasn't supposed to know where I lived, he wasn't supposed to have my phone number, but he would hire a private investigator. He would break into my house, and he would leave notes saying, you think you can get away from me no matter where you go, I'm going to find you. The police had it, my attorney had it. There were messages, because they had told me to get a tape. Back then they had the tape messages where you could leave, and they had like probably 10, 12 tapes of him calling me, threatening me, and they never did anything. He took me to court every month for 6.5 years. He tried to establish that I was unstable, and he tried to get my children from me. He eventually was successful, and he got custody of my children. He took them away from me, and he said, you'll never see them again. And he did exactly that. And I would call them, and we had joint custody, but he wouldn't let me talk to him on the phone. Every time I would send him a present, he'd throw in the trash. He would tell them that I didn't love them, that I abandoned them, and my children grew up believing this. And because it was the only way that he could hurt me. So I had a nervous breakdown, and my sister sent me back to Virginia to live with my sister in Reading. And I was in my room one day, and I got a phone call, and it was from a doctor in California who told me that my daughter had leukemia, and that it was a 99% chance she was going to die, and that I had to get on a plane right then and there and get back to California. So I went back, and I remember laying on the bed, and I had my Psalms open, and I just laid on the Psalms, and I just sobbed and cried out to the Lord. And the Lord said to me, for every tear you cry, I hold it in the palm of my hand, and for every tear you cry, vengeance will be mine. And I said, okay. And then he gave me this song. It's called Breathe. And that song carried me, because he said, every time you hear this song, then you'll know I'm here. I've got everything under control. And I love you. And it did. Over the years, it was like every time everything was going bad, that song would come on. And it was just been such a special song to me over the years. So I ended up having, I went to California, and I had to go back, I had to move back to California because of my daughter's leukemia. And I just want to say, praise God, there were people that prayed for her, and God created a miracle, and she was healed.
Amen.
So, and the good thing about it is when she was in the hospital, I got to witness to my ex-husband and his new wife and my ex-mother-in-law. And so we ended up becoming friends and kind of mending things to work through that during that period of time.
Amen.
And so when I moved back, I had been in worship bands, and we had traveled all over. And the friend of mine who was in the worship band was leading worship at a church in California. And so he found out I was coming back, and he said, "Hey sis, can you come over and help us do worship?" So I did, and I became a pastor there, and I was the pastor of drama and choir. We wrote plays, we did professional plays in choir in California, and God really used that to show me what gifts He had given me, and so that was really awesome. But during that period of time, my ex-husband's wife had left her, and I had lost my place to live. And so, unfortunately, we had made an agreement that I would rent a room from him until I could get things back together. And during that period of time, we fell. We'll just say it that way. And I said to him, "Don't tell anyone because it was a mistake. And this should never have happened, and it will never happen again." So he's very obsessed with me. So he goes into church and he tells everybody. So they had a board meeting, and they said, either you marry him or your ministry's gone. And I know that sounds stupid, but there were a lot of people counting on me. A lot of people. My ministry had become huge. And I thought, this is my sin. I have to fix this. And so I remarried my ex-husband, very briefly. And I told him, if you hurt me, if you abuse me, or if you cheat on me, it's over. My vows are under conditions. So God, being in His infamous mercy, created a way out. Because we got married in March, and in June I found out he was having an affair. And then he tried to run me down with a car. So during that period of time, within 2 weeks, I lost my job, I lost my marriage, I had to walk away from my house with just the clothes on my back. And I'm not going to go into it, but CPS got involved, and I lost my church. And if you asked me before that happened, could a Christian be broken more than anything, I would have told you absolutely not. But I was broken, beyond broken. And it was a really, really bad situation with the church. It was a bad situation with friends that I had been in recovery with for 15 years. I found out that the accountant was the drug dealer for the whole church, and it was supposed to be a recovery church. They took me over to this house where they were having a party, and they were all doing these drugs. And I just bawled, and I said, "Am I the only person that was serious? I've lived in your home. I've known you for 15 years. You stand up here and tell me that you love God, and you tell other people about sobriety, because it was a church of sobriety. That's what the whole church was for. We had people in there who were there trying to get sober." And it broke me. I mean, it really broke me. And so I had decided that night that I was going to commit suicide. Because I couldn't take it. And luckily, I ended up talking myself out of it, and I didn't end up doing it. And so, to go back just a little bit, when I was single with my kids, I kept telling people, "I think there's a contract on my life." And they were like, "No, you're crazy." And there was always people following me. There was always people taking pictures of me. There was always, there's so many times when I had to go pull into the police station because somebody was following me. Well, when my ex-husband and I got remarried, he admitted to me that he had put a contract on my life. And that he was dealing drugs. The next door neighbors were Mexican mafia running guns. His drug dealer was putting too much heat on them, and so they said either you stop selling drugs, and if you stop, we'll owe you a favor, and if you don't, we're going to kill you. So he stopped selling drugs, and the favor was a contract on my life. And he said he went back later, and he had told him, he started feeling guilty, and he said, never mind. And they said, no, it's too late, there's nothing we can do. And there were many times when somebody, like one night somebody shot from the highway into the car and shattered the windshield of the car we were driving. This one particular day, right before I left California for the last time, I was working and I was going to lunch, and this red truck pulled up next to me, and the guy rolled down the window and had a shotgun like this. I saw the bullet come out of the chamber. I saw it come towards me, and I do not know how I did not get shot. And I was so shaken, I pulled over, and I looked, and my car was fine, I was fine, I wasn't hit, I didn't know. But I knew at that moment I couldn't be in California anymore, because it was just a matter of time that they were never going to stop until I was dead. And as I said before, through the years, the Lord told me, you know, for every tear you cry, I hold it in the palm of my hand, and every tear you cry, vengeance will be mine. Well, right before I left California, my ex-husband came to my house, and he was crying, and he was shaking, and he was like apologizing and saying, I'll never bother you again, I swear. And I was like, okay, you know. And he said, now he didn't believe in God. So he said he was driving down the highway, but there was a truck in front of him with rebar, is that what it's called, rebar? And one of them fell off the truck, bounced, and went through his windshield. It rolled his truck, and he was upside down, and he said, the Lord spoke very loud and said, this is my child, and if you touch her again, this is just a warning. And I was so encouraged, because all the time when he had told me about the vengeance would be his, and he wanted me to be harmless and blameless, God was showing me that he was not going to allow somebody to treat his children that way. And that his time of waiting for him to find salvation was coming to an end. And that, and I thought I would be really happy about it, but I really wasn't. I was very, very sad. So I ended up leaving, and I went to Virginia, came back to Virginia. And I was dating somebody, and he was Joe's best friend. And he wanted me to find him. And I said, okay, you know, I'm really good at searching and finding. You know, I can hunt down anybody. So I actually found him. And so by then we had broken up. So he had sent me an email, and he said, oh my gosh, you know, because we were very good friends in high school and junior high school. And he said, here's my phone number, give me a call, you know, let's catch up. And I said, oh, well, I don't call guys. Here's my phone number. If you want to call me, you can call me, but I don't call guys. And so he called me, and well, I'll let him tell his side of the story, but I'm just telling my side. So we talked every night, and then we went down to see each other. And I was sitting there that one day, and I was reading my Bible, and all of a sudden my Bible just fell off my lap onto the ground. And this paper that I had been looking for 12 years, I had gone page by page, fell out of this Bible. And I opened it up, and I am not kidding, it was him, to a T. I mean, it was him. And I knew that he was the one that God had brought to me. And so we got married. And,
Hallelujah.
So God has been with us, and Joe and I have not had, you know, we've had our rough times, but God has never let us down. He's always held us up. When we didn't have a home, we were living like kings. We never went without a meal. So God has been good to me. He has shown me through all the years, through everything, that no matter how bad you think it is, no matter what you're going through, even when you don't think he's there, he is. And he's holding you up.
Amen.
And he does love you. And especially I have to hold on to this, because the world right now is so rough to be in. And he just keeps reminding me. And so I really wanted to share this song with you. I didn't want to just sing because I'm a great singer. I really wanted to share this song with you because this is the song that the Lord gave me to let me know He is here. And I want to do it so for you guys, He is here.